Hi everyone, and welcome to Bryn Athyn Sacred Space Online, where we offer special talks, music, and performances here every Wednesday and Friday on the Chaplain's YouTube channel. If you're interested in performing with us, please contact the Chaplain's office. And without further ado, enjoy the program.
She said, I hear the ocean wind lying here in bed, and she's got a story to tell. Oh, she does. You know she tells it well. I feel the ocean wind, says she's feeling blue. I feel the ocean wind, tell me stories of you. And she don't sing in the day. No, she don't. Her song, it ain't gonna stay.
Welcome, friends, to another chapel here with the Bryn College community. I'm Senior Pastor Chuck Blair from over at New Church Live. And great to have you joining us today and as we sort of close up our thoughts that we've been having around resilience. Now, it starts with this. This is a time where you folks are having to practice resilience in a pretty darn unique way and challenging way as well. And resilience is always about this. Resilience is always about sort of how do we hold on to the big picture, finding this, finding a trust that lays on our hearts. How do we hold the big picture, finding a trust that lays on our hearts? It's easy to look at resilience as just kind of success. It's like you got to be resilient so we can be successful, and that's the way it is. And I'm always a little leery about that, just so you know. Like just even right before getting on to do this little chapel, chatting with a mom whose son has cancer, is in surgery this morning. That's scary stuff. And too often I think we can look at resilience like, wow, you're going to get through this and we'll all be okay and blah, 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 blah. And certainly that's what everybody's working towards, is for it to be okay. And it's a scary time. And to think of resilience as necessarily always leading to success, however we define that, it's a little bit of a misnomer and can actually be a little off-putting to people who are going through times that are challenging, that they're really just working hard just to keep their nose above the water. So that's where I want to start with resilience. Now, second place I want to go is that the question, are there Bible stories that talk about this? And the answer, of course, is yes. Anything we face in the human condition, we will find as well addressed in the Bible in different ways, shapes, or forms. And the story we've been looking at is a story of Joseph. Simple story. He's one of 12 brothers. He's sort of on the outs with the other 11. They actually conspire to sell him into slavery. He ends up with this long journey and eventually gets elevated to be one of the most significant, powerful people in Egypt. Then the story takes a beautiful turn. His brothers, now refugees, come to see him to plead for food. He knows it's them. They don't know it's him. And that's where the story just gets beautiful, because folks, just put yourself in that position of Joseph, which is, I think, what we're supposed to do here in the Bible. Like there are times where all of us, have been hurt by other people. It's part of the human condition. No one gets around being hurt by others, and sadly also hurting others as well. It's just part of what happens in the human story. We see him actually welcome his brothers in. He doesn't tell them right away who he is, but he does give them food. And then eventually he comes forth like, I'm your brother Joseph. And there's a beautiful line here in the Bible as he's making peace with his brothers. And this is the line: though you intended it for evil, God intended it for good. That is a beautiful part of resilience. It's a resilience that's saying that God's story is never interrupted. I want to say that again. God's story is never interrupted. It can feel like right now, especially, that we're going through 1,000,001 interruptions. You got the COVID interruption, you have all kinds of racial tensions and issues. We've seen them in Philadelphia this week, right? And really hard stuff to wrestle with. Those can be considered interruptions in life of a sort. We can also see interruptions, with the election. I mean, I don't see a lot of people who are like thinking this election is the most fun they've ever had in their life. Like those are three pretty big things that we're trying to wrestle with as a community and to find a way forward. And they can all appear as interruptions in our life. But what I want to offer to you, friends, is they don't appear as interruptions to God. God holds the whole thing. God is with us through all of this, helping us to find a way back home. A place where in our minds we can get, we're not here to earn God's love. We're here to actually reflect God's love. We're not here to earn God's love or anyone else's love, frankly, for that matter. We're here to reflect God's love. So that story and that understanding that God just sort of holds it all, like there aren't interruptions to God. There's a story that he'll continue to show up in. It leads to a very powerful view towards resilience. That God is here too. That God is here too. I was working with someone last week who went through a very tragic loss, and and they were worried that somehow they hadn't prayed right, and that was why this loss had occurred. I had to tell them, I just don't see it that way. I think God is all about being with us in our journey of resilience. And it gets to this last piece, and I think this is really critical. It'd be easy to read this story of Joseph with kind of our Western eyes on it. And our Western eyes on it would look at the story of Joseph and say, look how resilient the guy was. He ended up being leader in Egypt. In other words, sort of a rags to riches story, which it is. But I feel there's a much bigger point there about resilience. And that's this, my friends. Resilience, in the end, is largely about reconciliation. The whole point of this story was not that Joseph would go from being sold into slavery to being the leader in Egypt. The whole point of this story wasn't that line, it was this circle where he started out part of a family, was estranged from that family in very, very dire circumstances, but then as this beautiful moment of reconciliation. That's the story of resilience, my friends. That's what we're after. That's what we're trying to create. As Martin Luther King famously said, in his 10 rules of nonviolent resistance, we desire reconciliation, not victory. We desire reconciliation, not victory. There's a place to live from. So, friends, I wish as you go through this coming week, that you think about that, and you think about, like, where in your life are you feeling that call to reconnect? Where are you feeling that call to, kind of bring the circle back around? Do the best you can to do that, because that's where life really starts to come alive, and that's where we experience more and more what is always true, which is that God exists in all things, in all times, in all people, in all places. And God exists outside of all those interruptions of life. Thank you, my friends. Wishing you all the best in the week ahead. Take care.